Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Gorowski, and I'll be your host for today. And thank you for joining us on June 1st, the first of the month. I know many of our schools in the U.S. have already called it for the summer, but there's some that go right through to June, and all our schools in Canada, we go right to the end of June as well. And we're not going to leave out June without some exciting ocean action. So next week is World Ocean Week, and we have an amazing series of live events coming out. We put out our newsletter last night, but if you want to check out some of those Ocean Week events, you can head over to exploringbytheseat.com /Ocean Week. You can find all the events coming up next week. Register to tune in live, maybe snag a camera spot in some of those events. So we're looking forward to seeing your classrooms for some ocean action. And in fact, we're not even going to wait till next week. We're going to get some ocean action going right now. I'm really excited to have an amazing group joining us from the Peace Boat. So it's a Japan-based international NGO promoting peace, human rights, and sustainability. And they were established in 1983. So not only do we have Emilie McGlone joining us today, the director of Peace Boat US, we also have some of the youth ambassadors joining us as well to share a little bit of their stories. So today we're going to learn a little bit about UN World Ocean Week and the Peace Boat programs. I'm excited to have a great group of classrooms on camera with us and joining us live via YouTube from across North America. Don't be shy to send us some messages in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And then, of course, get your questions ready. But for now, I'm going to bring Emilie in live with us. Hey, Emilie, how you doing?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Joe.
Oh, of course. We're thrilled to have you. We're excited to meet the youth ambassadors as well. And I think for many students, this might be their first introduction to the Peace Boat.
Yes, we're so excited to meet all the students who are tuning in today. Thank you all for being here. And I'm really excited to share our Peace Boat programs with you. And also, hopefully, we'll have you on board sailing with us soon.
All right. Well, Emilie, I'm going to hide behind the scenes. If you want to queue up some slides, we'll get going, and then we'll let the classrooms take over for a bit.
That sounds great. I'm so excited to share with you all a little bit more about our organization. So here we go. Hopefully everybody can now see my slides here. All right, everyone. Well, once again, my name is Emilie McGlone, and I work as a director of an incredible organization called Peace Boat US, which works in partnership with our organization Peace Boat based in Japan. And this is the ship that we use as we travel around the world, promoting global citizenship for the Sustainable Development Goals. We travel to more than 20 countries every 3 months on the ship. So you can see these different routes around the world, sometimes visiting the Northern Hemisphere, going all the way up into Iceland and the Baltic region, through the fjords, and sometimes going all the way south, down to South Africa, Namibia, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile, and visiting Patagonia, which is one of my favorite places. Peace Boat was started in 1983, as Joe mentioned in the introduction, which means we have more than 38 years traveling as an international NGO, using the ship as a venue for education, cultural exchange, and partnership building as we travel around the world. We also carry with us on the Peace Boat the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize as part of ICAN, which stands for the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. And they won the Nobel Peace Prize as part of their efforts to raise awareness about nuclear weapons abolition and working towards a nuclear-free future. So we're really excited to carry that Nobel Peace Prize with us, and hopefully we can bring it to all of your classrooms one day as well, so you can see it too. As we're traveling around the world, we promote socially and environmentally responsible tourism. So we really believe that travel in itself can be a tool for positive social and political change. We like to have cultural exchange workshops, get our hands-on experiences with local communities, and learn from them as we travel. On the side of our ship, we have this wheel of colors. Probably some of you know what it stands for. This is the Sustainable Development Goals logo of the United Nations. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we work on all of them. So we carry this logo with us as we're traveling around the world to raise awareness for sustainability. And then on the ship, we have lectures and workshops and classroom activities. It's just like your classroom, but a floating space on the boat. We also have a Montessori education program for kids ages 2 to 7. So we have a kids room on board. And a lot of our work focuses on SDG number 4 for quality education, which is why we love talking to students. and SDG number 14 for life below water, because we are sailing on the ocean. Some of our guest speakers are also from indigenous communities. So here we have a Nobel Peace Laureate. Her name is Rigoberta Menchú from Guatemala. And she came on board to give a lecture also about indigenous culture, because some of the most important cultures and traditional knowledge is what we find when we meet with indigenous communities. And we really want to bring that into our education on board as well. And then, of course, we have our youth leaders, which some of them are here with us today. They're going to be speaking to you about our Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador Program, which is for young people that come from small island developing states. These are often islands that are low-level islands, which means that because of climate change and increasing sea temperatures and the sea level rising, we often find that these islands are really on the forefront of climate change and ocean degradation. And these are also the youth leaders who have the most innovative and creative ideas for solutions for our climate and our ocean action. So we have these Peace Boat Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassadors from 2019. Khadija Stewart, who is one of the bottom left photos in the red shirt, she's with us today. She's going to be speaking to you live. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. We also have youth from Seychelles, from Singapore, from Montserrat, and from Timor-Leste and other islands that are all working together to support ocean and climate action. And then another part of our work is bringing those youth also to the United Nations. So here in this photo, you'll see me in the middle, but also next to me is Sarah Van Erde, who was a youth leader for our Youth for the SDGs program. And we really try to bring young people to the United Nations headquarters. Where we live here in New York City, we have the headquarters right across the street. We're in the United Nations Plaza right now, calling to you all live. And our relationship with the United Nations allows us to participate in all of these global conferences. This is our office where I'm calling in from right now. And we also have a youth education program to learn about the SDGs and how to engage with the United Nations. So I will invite all of you watching today to apply for our internship in the future. Our youngest intern was 14 years old, so it's never too early to apply. And you get to come to the office. You also get to have a pass from the United Nations where you're able to participate in all of the conferences and activities, because we know that the time to act is now, and our climate and our environment really depends on it. So we're really excited to be here talking about World Oceans Week and also our work for sustainable development. This is also the year of starting the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. These 10 years, really starting from 2021 to 2030, and especially this year, now that we're really picking up action and in-person conferences and meetings, we are definitely dedicated to this United Nations Decade of Ocean Science. And so what that means is learning about ocean science firsthand. And with that, we started a Youth for the SDGs Scholarship Program to encourage young people to learn about marine science and ocean-related activities and programs through Peace Boat. So we have Sarah, who's with us today, who was one of our youth scholars on this program. We often go to Latin America with the program, and the last time we held this program on board, we have with us Sylvia Cantu, who's in this photo from Mexico. She's an ocean researcher, scuba diver, and photographer, and we went to Patagonia together with our team of 7 youth focused on sustainable development. We also organized some beach cleanups while we were in Latin America, creating activities to not only visit these beautiful places, but to also leave them cleaner than when we found it. So we really believe our Youth for the Education programs are really focused on all of these activities and hands-on related programs as well. We've also painted murals for those of you who like to draw and paint. We're very active in leaving an impression in the places that we visit. So we invite the community to paint with us all around the SDGs. And sometimes when we look at reforestation, we think about planting mangrove trees and providing an ecosystem restoration for those coastal communities that we visit. And this is all in partnership with our local partners. So this is one example. This is from Cambodia. We planted, I think, that day 1,000 seedlings for the mangrove reforestation program. And then, of course, our last trip that we had on board, visiting the Patagonia glaciers and mountains while we were in Chile and southern Patagonia. And so before we go on to introduce Sarah, who joined us on this program, I actually want to ask Joe if you can help to pull up a video. We will be showing a really short video that just talks about Peace Boat's work for ocean and climate action, especially as we're looking at the World Oceans Day coming up on June 8th. I'd like to share a little bit about Peace Boat's work for the oceans.
I was invited by the Peace Boat to participate in an event in one of the ports in London to discuss the relationship between oceans and climate change, but more than anything to discuss the urgency of addressing climate change due to the high vulnerability of those people who live on low island states.
The Peace Boat to me is a perfect platform to really get people to be talking about and acting on ocean conservation.
The vision is a world in which humanity and nature live in harmony. We must achieve that.
Great, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that short video. And if you saw at the end of the video, there was that incredible ship that showed the wind sails and solar panels coming up. That is Peace Boat's Ecoship. And we know that in order to conserve the oceans, we also need to have a more sustainable cruise ship. So we are working on building the world's first sustainable passenger ship that will use solar and wind power to propel us through the oceans, reducing our CO2 by 40%. So we're really excited about having this Ecoship be the next stage of Peace Boat's activities. And hopefully you can all join us on board soon. There's so many ways to get involved with Peace Boat, whether it be through a volunteer position or through a youth program. Or for all the teachers out there listening, you can also bring your students on board as a summer program, spring break, or other programs where you're able to take students abroad. We're really happy to host you and to continue our education for the oceans together. So with that, I would like to invite Sarah Van Erde, who works with a nonprofit organization called Global Kids, who also works in middle schools and high schools in New York. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. Hi, everyone.
So excited to have you join us. Thank you so much. Well, you have such a great story to tell, and I know we have some images as well, but maybe you want to introduce yourself, and then I can pull up the slides when you're ready.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I'm also a teacher, so hello to the teachers out there. Congratulations on almost being done with your school year. And students, congratulations on finishing homework, all of the things that you're doing. Remember to give yourself a pat on the back and know that this is really hard work that you're doing. So again, my name is Sarah, and I was lucky enough to be on Peace Boat back in 2019. And so that's the story I'll share with you a little bit today. And for me, I started out as an artist, being really interested in poetry and the ocean, even singing, things that might not seem like they relate right away to climate action or sustainability. But I want you to know that if you have an artistic passion or something really excites you, then you are absolutely welcome on board, and there's a place for you. So yeah, I'm just excited to share with you about my journey of how I found out about Peace Boat and when I sailed, which was, again, back in 2019. So let's start with the beginning. I fell in love with the ocean when I was 4 years old, and I loved it just because I thought it was, you know, beautiful, huge. I love turtles. I love the animals all in the ocean. So I didn't even know it needed to be protected yet. I just knew that I really, really loved it, and it made me feel peaceful and calm. And then I got to kind of start understanding the connection between why the ocean is so amazing and why we need to keep it as healthy and well as possible. So I got to go to Argentina when I was getting my master's in social work. So I'm also a therapist. And we studied abroad, and I went to Patagonia. And this is one of the pictures there. This is the Perito Moreno Glacier. And I got to see the beauty of glaciers up close and personal. And then after I graduated with my social work degree, I got a dream job for me. Global Kids is based in New York, and we offer after-school programming for students. And we really try to fill in gaps. We really try to talk about things going on in the world, things like climate action. And in these pictures, for example, I have a big banner that says "The future is listening." And then another poster that says, "I am stronger than fear." And these were at various activism marches or events. And so that was really, really fun. This is Global Kids. We, again, work in middle schools and high schools. I, for example, lead a group called the Human Rights Activist Project. So together we do amazing stuff. For example, one time we made a t-shirt into a reusable bag. If you YouTube it, it's really fun to do. And all you need is scissors and a t-shirt to make into a reusable bag. So we do stuff like that together. This is an event we had right before COVID. This was to protest a pipeline. So if anyone is misunderstanding pipelines or wanting to understand why they're harmful for the environment, you can even look up Ben & Jerry's. If you like ice cream, look up Ben & Jerry's why pipelines are bad. They explain, for example, why pipelines are bad. And we did a protest. We actually were successful in saying no to a pipeline in Brooklyn. And then I found out about Peace Boat. It's a partner of Global Kids. So when that scholarship that Emilie mentioned before became available, I had to take it. So I was lucky enough to get to go on board. And this was our trip. So for any Spanish speaker out there, we started in Ushuaia, Argentina, which is known as El Fin del Mundo, the end of the world, because it's really close to Antarctica. It's actually like the tip of South America. So this is where that photo is taken from. You can probably see glaciers in the background there. Yeah, Ushuaia. We got to hike up to a glacier, talk to a local person in Argentina about how the glaciers are receding, meaning going backwards, because they're melting. So people that live in the community see how climate change is affecting them up close and personal. This was when we got to go on board. You can see Emilie there in the bottom right, and I'm in the middle on the top, where we got to meet the 1,000 or so people that were on this big ship. And everyone was so excited to get to know us and talk about why we were on board. So we were sharing about the Sustainable Development Goals and why we're so passionate about them. And so this was a little poster they put up for us. And this is me presenting. I used a slightly different rock climbing photo here, but I was presenting about the same beginning of my story, which is why I got into ocean activism. This was a really cool event on board as well. So we were trying to get people to sign a petition so that they can make Patagonia on the Chilean side a World Heritage Site, which basically means it would get more protections and offer support like that. So we had an event on board where we shared our knowledge about Patagonia and its beauty, why it should be protected, and we got a lot of signatures. This was such a cool moment. I got to meet the captain. He is incredibly wise and smart and is able to know directions when it's all blue around you. So it was just really empowering and cool to see how many different talents are on board Peace Boat. And even just hearing his story was really, really cool. This is when we docked for the first time. We landed in Valparaiso, Chile, and I got to speak on Chilean news about what we were doing. It was a really cool event, and we actually also were installing solar-powered lights in the community. So we were teaching people how to make solar-powered lights with an organization called Leader of Light, or Litre de Luz. And this is with one of the little girls in the community helping us do it. And it was just a really beautiful day with a lot of really cool people meeting. And then we drove to Santiago, where I got to talk at a place called UNESCO, and we shared about our experience. I talked specifically about Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality. It's one of my personal favorites. And then good health and well-being. As a mental health therapist, I liked talking about that as well. And then when I got back to New York, I was lucky enough to keep in touch with Emilie, and she invited me to speak at the United Nations, which was a dream come true. I never thought I would ever do that. So I shared my journey about Peace Boat, and I also shared how much I love the Sustainable Development Goals. And then Peace Boat, as you know, goes around the world. So it goes from Japan all the way to New York and back. So this is when it was docked in New York Harbor. And we had a really amazing event where we got to share, talk to even New Yorkers who may or may not know about Peace Boat. And again, talk about the Sustainable Development Goals and which one each person has as a favorite. So like I said in the very beginning, I started out more as feeling like an artist. I was really interested in poetry and singing. So when I got on board Peace Boat and really connected my passion for climate action to my poetry, I wrote a poem. So any poets out there, just keep this in mind. You can really use it for anything you do in your life. But I just want to end my story with you by sharing a piece of my poem, and it's about the ocean. I see a world that is focused on healing our planet, our animals, ourselves, and each other. I see a world where we remember we belong to the earth, that we still cry the ocean's language, that we were life below water. I see a world that is blue from the ocean regaining the color in her cheeks, her coral coming back to life, her lungs free of plastic, her fish flourishing, her dolphins roaming free. She is there for us to believe in, to dance amidst her swaying tides. She has everything to teach us about patience. So thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you all.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was beautiful. It's so great to always hear your poetry and just also to see all the inspiration that you bring, not only to us as Peace Boat partners, but also to all the people that you reach, all the students that you work with. It's so great to hear your story. I wanted to also bring in Khadija, who's here with us. She was featured in some of the photos that we just saw as well. Hi, Khadija from Trinidad and Tobago.
Hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here, ready to share my story and everything.
Oh, amazing. And tell us, where are you calling in from today? You're not in Trinidad.
No, I am not in Trinidad. I am currently in the UK in a town just outside of London. So it's pretty cold and it's also late, but I wanted to be here. So here I am.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're always on some adventures, and we're looking forward to hearing more about your stories and your experience on the Peace Boat. Do you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll pull up the slides for you?
Sure. So like Emilie mentioned, my name is Khadija Stewart. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and I am very passionate about climate change. You know, being from the Caribbean and an island, it's only right that I care so much about climate change because my home is under threat, you know. And I also focus on ocean conservation and water security work. And I have my own company, EcoVibes, as you can see by my lovely t-shirt with this frog. And I do storytelling to raise awareness about, like I said, climate change, the ocean, and water. So that's me in a nutshell. And I think we could start sharing about my amazing, absolutely amazing Peace Boat experience.
Some of your slides. Yeah.
And fun fact, on this very day in 2019, I was on the Peace Boat. So it's only fitting that I am here now to share about my journey and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you to be able to share with everyone. It's always such a pleasure. Khadija has a really great experience on the Peace Boat, but also she's been doing so many amazing projects even since then. Let's see. Can you all see my screen at the moment? Or not quite? Okay, let me see.
I can see it back there, Emilie, and I see the slides come up, but then they disappear. There we go.
Okay, great. Here you go, Khadija.
Yay, that's me. Right. So, like I mentioned, in 2019, I would have joined the Peace Boat in May, and it was myself and 7 other youth ambassadors from small island developing nations. We have my friend Apa from Fiji, we have Pua from Tuvalu, Elsie from Palau, Ash from Montserrat, Gio from St. Lucia, Natalia from Seychelles, and then Nat from Singapore. So we really came from every corner of the earth, and like I said, all small island developing states. All of us very excited, did not know what to expect. We've heard about the Peace Boat, and we were just ready to come on board and share our stories and dive into whatever adventure Peace Boat offered for us. And we started our journey in Malta. That photo was actually taken in Malta, and we went to several different ports. We went to, so like I said, we started in Malta, and then we went to Spain, we went to Morocco, we went to the Azores Islands, and we ended in New York. And at the different ports, we came out, we had the opportunity to explore some of the countries that we touched. We also had the opportunity to interact with the students, with professionals, with NGOs, such as like Fridays for Future, for example. And my favorite port was Morocco. As soon as we landed in Morocco, you could instantly feel the energy in the air. When we came off the ship, there were people like beating drums, welcoming us. And we went to this huge session with over 100 young leaders from Morocco, all working on the different SDGs. And we got to share our stories. We got to share about climate change. They told us about some of the environmental problems that they were experiencing in Morocco. And then also we had this big activity on board where they came, and like I said, they also shared. Some of the ambassadors spoke to different professionals, and we had children on board. It was a day of just absolute fun and amazement. And well, as you can imagine, we were on the ship for a very long time. So what was life like on board the Peace Boat, right? So for us, the youth ambassadors, we had several programs, and we had several guest educators that came on board at the different ports and would share their information with us. So, for example, we had Brandon Levy from Sustainable Ocean Alliance, and he came on board and he shared with us everything about that company, what they do, how the youth can get involved. We had Laura, she went into details about the SDGs. Jeremy, for example, he does peace work, and really tying all these different teams together and how, all these different things relate to climate change or the ocean, because every single aspect is connected. And sometimes we have tunnel vision when we look at these problems, but these different educators really helped us realize there's a whole big picture and everything is connected, as well as how to be like conscious leaders, for example. Sometimes we don't stop to think that if you are not right mentally, physically, all those things, then it's very hard for you to go out and do advocacy work if you're dealing with a lot of internal battles. And that's something for myself that I wasn't even thinking about, and I was very grateful to have one of the guest educators bring that to my attention, right? And this is all the fun part, right? So we also had the opportunity to share our culture. As you can see on the bottom right, we were dancing away on the Peace Boat, performing and doing the different traditional dances from the different countries. And something that was very, very interesting to me was that we had the opportunity to engage with the global university students that were on board the Peace Boat, who were all speaking basically Japanese, and none of us spoke Japanese, and they didn't really speak English. And we had sessions together, and it was absolutely amazing how we were able to communicate with them and come out with some of these things like, what is your favorite part on your body, what is your favorite food, what is your favorite, so it was really more than just coming on board and learning about climate change. It was really connecting the different cultures and bringing us together, as well as, like I said, us educating some of the passengers about some of the problems that we are facing as it relates to climate change, our oceans, things like pollution, things like coral reefs being degraded, things like, for example, there's seaweed that's washing up on shore in the Caribbean that's causing a lot of problems, so we really got the opportunity to bring that to an international, or better yet, a different audience. kind of like what I'm doing here right now, right? And then at the very end, we ended in New York, like I mentioned, for World Oceans Day celebrations. And let me tell you, nothing could have prepared me for New York, right? And I was unfortunately sick, but listen, nobody could have tell. I was pumped, I was excited, and I was ready. We had to go to the United Nations headquarters, and that was my second time visiting the headquarters. And I remember the first time I went, I told myself, one of these days I must go back to the headquarters, I must go back to the UN, and Peace Boat made that happen for me. And as you can see, Emilie is in one of those pictures. We attended the opening ceremony of the World Oceans Day celebrations at the UN headquarters, and one of the youth ambassadors performed one of his cultural practices, and that was he was blown away with the reception that he got, and we were also very proud of him. And there were also several side events that took place at the headquarters, and I had the opportunity to once again share my story there and connect with a lot of different stakeholders, all working towards, ensuring and protecting our oceans and stuff. And we also visited the Explorers Club in that day. When I tell you, New York was pace, but it was so much fun, right? And the Peace Boat, of course, hosts this massive reception on board the ship for World Oceans Day. And once again, we had the opportunity to perform our different dances for everyone that was on board, and it was like hundreds of people on board enjoying themselves, talking about the ocean. We had experts such as Sylvia Earle or Fabian Cousteau. We had representatives from a lot of organizations sharing things like film, poetry, doing a live painting, singing, and bringing all these different talents together to raise awareness about the oceans and why we need to protect it. And like I said, the atmosphere was just absolutely amazing. And I was so very sad that I was so sick and I didn't have the energy to enjoy everything to the max. But again, I took in as much of it as I can. And Peace Boat honestly really did change my life. And to wrap up, New York, like I mentioned, it was just pace 24/7, right? We had a beach cleanup that was done at, oh my gosh, I don't think I can remember the name of the beach, but I believe Emilie should know, so she would come in and, afterwards and give you all the name of the beach. But it was a 4-ocean beach cleanup, and it was a perfect way to end all the educating that we have been doing and everything that we learned on the trip thus far, us, the youth ambassadors, coming together one last time for an amazing activity to clean up the beach, to get rid of all the plastics, all the pollution, everything that just does not belong in our oceans and stuff. So yeah, and the Peace Boat program ended June. When did it end? I believe it was either June 9th or June 10th. And we all went back to our respective countries. And like I said, us as youth ambassadors, we really stayed connected. We were strangers when we met. We didn't know what to expect. And we left feeling a family, and we are all still connected. And yeah, Peace Boat honestly changed my life and turned me into the leader that I am today. And it's more than just coming on board and sharing your story and moving forward. Like, there were so many opportunities that came up afterwards. Like, this is one of them, me being here. Emilie has always provided a platform and a space for the youth that were involved in the Peace Boat to share their voice and stuff. So I am just honored and excited and glad that I'm sad that I'm not currently on the Peace Boat once again, but honored that I'm here to share with you my experience. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Khadija. It's so great to hear about your experiences, and we will sail again for sure in the future. And maybe all the students that are out there watching, you can be the coordinator and we can go together with all the youth that are interested in ocean and environmental issues. Peace Boat right now, we're hoping to be sailing probably in November of this coming year. And then we'll be sailing again, usually 3 months around the world, every 3 months. So we're constantly traveling and doing a loop around the northern and southern hemispheres, and then, stopping in each country to make those programs. So we look forward to doing more with all of you. And I'm sure that you all have some questions as well. So we wanted to leave a little bit of time to kind of have some wrap up and discuss with our ocean leaders.
All right. Well, Khadija, Sarah, thank you so much. That's great. It looks like amazing experiences. There's so much to unpack in all of those experiences. I think the best thing for classrooms to do, though, is to head to the website and do a little investigating for themselves as well and learn more about the program. So let's do it. Let's bring some of those classrooms in and see what kind of questions they have for us as well. If you're tuning in via YouTube, get some of those questions coming our way in the live chat, and of course, introduce yourselves. But heading to some of our live classrooms, let's head to New York first. We have some 5th graders hanging out with us. I am going to bring them in live with us right now. Hey, 5th graders. How are we doing?
Good.
Right, nice and loud.
My question is, on the Peace Boat, what was the longest journey in the ocean you were on?
Oh, that is a really good question. So I've been around the world 6 times on the Peace Boat, which means each time is 3 months. And the longest time at sea between 2 countries, I think, is probably from West Africa in Namibia. The port is called Walvis Bay. And then you leave Namibia and you sail all the way across to Brazil, to Rio de Janeiro. And Brazil, that takes about 14 days at sea. It's pretty long. And I think that's the longest section of our voyages. It's that one and one more, maybe from Seattle or from San Francisco over to Hawaii, which also takes quite a few days at sea. But what we like to do on the boat when we're traveling long distances at sea is to have a really fun event in the middle. Like if we're going to Brazil, we'll organize a Brazilian carnival on board and everybody will participate. So it kind of breaks up this long period where you have a really fun event to look forward to. So that's kind of exciting.
All right, very cool. Well, stand by, New York. We're going to come back your way and grab another question or two as we continue to cycle around a little bit. I'm going to bring in Mrs. Ball's class now. They are joining us in Goderich, Ontario. Let's bring them here, a Canadian crew. How are we doing, Goderich? There they are.
You have just mentioned so many things that are going on the Peace Boat, and it's hard to get a vision for everything. So I see ecotourism, I see youth ambassadors, I hear about scholarships. Can just sort of put the picture together for us of who all is on board and how you get on board.
That's a great question. Thank you. And we do quite a lot. So it can seem like so much information, which it is. We're excited to do all these different programs. So Peace Boat, there's about 1,000 people traveling on the ship. Anybody can travel on board. We do have predominantly Japanese participants on board because we were started in Japan. So it's a very multilingual space on the ship. Japanese, English, Korean, Chinese, Spanish, sometimes some French or Arabic also, depending on what countries we're visiting. And then we have staff and crew from more than 40 different nationalities. So it's pretty international. And then we have our programs like the youth ambassadors or, youth for the SDG scholars. And those youth are coming on for a week or 2 at a time. So they're kind of coming on the voyage while everybody else is mostly doing the full 3 months around the world. And anybody can come on board. Most people pay to go on the ship. So it's just like taking an airplane. If you pay for your airplane ticket, you get on the plane and you fly somewhere. So Peace Boat is like that. You just pay for your ticket to get on the boat, and then you can travel on the boat. And most people go the full 3 months around the world. And I did see a question here in the chat too. I'm just kind of referencing that, but the question about how much it costs to go on board. So it's around $150 to $180 a day per person. And that's like a shared cabin. So we have some bunk room cabins, and you can have 2 to 4 people, friends sharing a cabin, but you can also have a balcony suite. Some people who are retired and traveling around the world want to have a little bit more space to relax, and you can have that too.
All right. So that was a question from Mrs. L's grade 8 class. We're going to pop them in for a question in a second. But before we do that, Sarah and Khadija, so, tons of activities going on. I'm wondering if each of you wants to share maybe a really exciting highlight for us. Maybe one of the activities that's really stuck with you.
I can think of one right away. There was a karaoke lounge named Bahia that was just the best. Every night there was fun, like people singing fun songs. I actually got a moment where I sang the song from the Titanic, I think, just to make it feel even more epic. And there were even people in the room that I didn't speak the same language as, but we were like sharing through music and singing. So on board, it feels, as you're absorbing all this amazing information about the world and about sustainability and peace education, you're also just having a really wonderful time.
All right, Khadija.
Yeah, well, Sarah, as you touched on karaoke and stuff like that, for us, the youth ambassadors, we also had several karaoke nights. And let me just tell you, none of us could sing. And it was absolutely terrible, but fun at the same time. And it brought a lighter energy to the whole, because when you're talking about climate change or ocean conservation, it could get, dark and gloomy and seem like there's no hope. But it was a way for us to bring the light and fun and energy into stuff. And let me tell you, we sang our hearts out almost every single night, to the point where they would come and basically kick us out. Everyone else was asleep, the boat was deserted, but we were just having the time of our lives. And yeah, but again, being from all the different islands and stuff, but us being able to connect and sing popular songs that all of us knew, we were dancing to, just that level of community and fun, that is something that really stuck out to me. The way in which we were all able to bond and form meaningful friendships.
All right, really cool. Mrs. L's 8th graders in Timmins. I see another question in the chat, so you can ask that one, or maybe you might have another one, but we're ready for you.
Hi, yes. Okay, guys, we're on now. Say hi. Thanks for having us. So one student was noticing that you had talked about the self-efficient boat that had the windmills and the solar panels, and you said that you were working on that. They're wondering when that's going to be ready to hit the water, or is it already on the water?
That is a great question. Yes, that's called Peace Boat's Ecoship, and we are in process, but we've had a little bit of a delay, as you can imagine, due to the pandemic and some other things. So we're hoping that we'll be sailing around 2025. That's kind of the goal, or maybe a little bit longer, it might be 2027, but very soon. We're hoping within the next 5 years to be sailing on the oceans.
Thank you.
All right, very cool. I'm going to grab a question here from the chat. I think this is a question that everybody could answer. And so this is about inspiration. So you're all obviously very inspired. You're passionate about protecting our planet, protecting our oceans. Who in the ocean world inspires you? Is there someone who maybe pushed you, sparked, ignited something, that a passion in the ocean? Whose work inspires you?
There's so many out there. I kind of want to go with one of my favorites, and it might be one of you guys' favorites too, but I really love Dr. Sylvia Earle, who is an underwater explorer, researcher, and one of the first females to spend such a long time underwater. But she also started at a very young age when diving was probably pretty challenging, I would imagine. I love to scuba dive, and I try to go diving every time I'm on the Peace Boat. I've been to Tahiti, Fiji, Hawaii, Jamaica, many places, even Eritrea and Jordan. But she's been not only diving in all those same places, but she's stayed underwater for a very long time, and she takes the submarine down. And I thought that's really cool. She's incredible.
Very cool.
Sarah, Khadija?
Next. It doesn't have to necessarily be ocean. Maybe anybody who inspired you to think more about climate change or protecting our planet.
Okay, I can go. Yeah. So I was, because this is ocean and June Oceans Month and everything, I would stick to ocean. So the person that kind of really inspired me to really get into this whole ocean field and really take my activism in this direction was actually Brandon Levy from Sustainable Ocean Alliance. So for me, I studied climate change and water security, and I had tunnel vision. That was all I was focused on. And Brandon really opened up my eyes to what is happening in the ocean and what youth could be doing, and the fact that I have a voice and that I could use it. And these are some of the talents and the ways in which I could bring activism or awareness to the youth in my country that I did not even imagine or think about. And he was the one that inspired me to apply for Our Ocean Conference in Norway in 2019. And that's when I saw young people from all over the world developing ideas to protect the oceans. And I was just like, wow, like we the youth really have power. So, okay, this is legit, right? This is something I can do. And it was through that and through seeing their work as well as Peace Boat's work. Well, don't get me started on Emilie. She knows how much I love her and the fact that she always creates space for me and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say those two especially has inspired my work and in this ocean and climate space.
I will say Rachel Carson. She was a marine biologist, an author, a really, really cool woman. And she wrote, I don't know if this is still required reading ever, but Silent Spring. It's a book about pollution and pesticides. And she just has brilliant writing. So if you ever are looking to learn more about this, but want to take a screen break, grab a Rachel Carson book.
All right. All great, great choices, great options. Okay. Well, Emilie, Khadija, and Sarah, thank you so much for being live with us today. I want to give a huge shout out to our classrooms as well as we race towards our World Ocean Week events. We hope that you can join us for some of those live events next week as well. Love to see your groups there. We've got lots of people in the chat as well saying hi to both of you, to Sarah and Khadija. So I think you have some friends tuning in, maybe some fellow ambassadors cheering you on, which is great. And Emilie, thank you so much for making this connection with us. It's our first connection with the Peace Boat. It's an amazing project, clearly having a huge impact around the world. We can't wait to hopefully collaborate a little more, maybe bring some more youth ambassadors into classrooms.
I would love that. We're so excited to be here with all of you. And that's our number one goal is education. So we love sharing stories and experiences. And there's so many things that we can involve the youth in, especially here in New York. For those that are in New York City are welcome to come work with us in the office or be part of our programs. And then, of course, when the Peace Boat visits a port near all of you, we'll be sure to invite you on board.
All right. Well, a big, early, happy World Ocean Week to everybody. For now, we're going to sign off, but we hope to see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.